Howdy there, I'll be interviewing a fellow student with a disability to talk about her experience in college. So without further ado, here she is, Sully!
My name is Soledad. I am an English major, and let's see, my goal with the major is hopefully going into script writing. Obviously, it's a different segue, but I feel like English, I could do a lot with that major more than I can do with majoring in film, especially if film doesn't work out. I do plan on transferring to UCLA in 2 years, though I'm trying to get it down to at least a year and a half, given I am ahead on credits. But yeah, so that's the plan.
Great. And how did you decide on your major?
I decided on my major because I like writing. From a young age, I wanted to be a novelist. And then it kind of shifted into script writing once I moved to LA, because I was like, oh, I didn't know you could write for movies. I kind of just thought movies were made. Didn't know that there was a whole fucking writing process for it. And I just got really into it. And then I was like, okay, talking to my parents, talking to my counselor about it. And they were like, okay, that's a good start, but, there's not a lot of, because of the strikes and, of course, the new laws and such happening within the film industry, it's really hard to get a job. So English is the backup. I can do proofreading. I could be a teacher. There's a lot more, I feel, to do with the English major.
Okay, then. And how many terms have you done?
I have done my spring semester, and then I did a little bit of dual enrollment, and then I did a summer semester as well.
Okay, and what year was that in?
Summer semester or the spring semester?
Spring semester.
The spring semester is 2024.
Okay. And is this your first term?
This is, yes, technically my first term.
How many classes are you taking this upcoming semester?
This upcoming semester, I believe I'm taking 6. I'm taking 6. Given 2 of those 6 classes go hand in hand because it's part of the Flight Tech program.
Mm-hmm. And how do you take your classes?
All in person. I have a really hard time with Zoom and online. Asynchronous I can do because it's all at my own pace, and I'm pretty good at least when it's a subject I enjoy. Asynchronous classes, really easy. It requires minimal socialization, and it's just easy for me to charge up and do the class all in one take. Zoom classes are just really hard because it's on Zoom. I feel like there's a disconnect. I can't connect to the material. And in person, I get the socialization, but also I like working with my hands. I have a hard time typing sometimes. It's much easier to write.
Okay, then. And do you have a disability?
Yes, I have anxiety, depression, and ADHD.
Okay. And do you use any accommodations from the SSD office?
Yes, I do. I have I believe it's an IEP in place. That I've had through high school, and thankfully we were able to transfer it over to college.
What accommodations does the college offer?
They offer, for IEPs, I believe they offer, there's longer test times, 2.5 weeks for assignments. You can have an in-person note taker, and then you can record sessions and take pictures of the board.
Very good. And do you think the term student with disability is offensive?
I wouldn't say it's offensive per se. I think it is othering, simply because it's being told you have a disability is like saying you can't do certain things because of that disability. And while that is true, there are some people that can't do certain things. It still is a way to put another person in a box, rather than just say, like a learning difference, or they just need accommodations.
What accommodations do they not offer that you think would be helpful?
I think one that they should offer would be Nat in the Unity Center does it during her counseling sessions, and I feel like teachers should do it. She calls it a mental health walk, and it's basically during very heavy subjects, or very just even planning for semesters that can be very overwhelming or exhausting. After we get through a big chunk of planning, it's usually half an hour will be like, okay, 15-minute walk outside, get some fresh air, take a step away from everything, and then come back fresh. Because, again, it's hard to plan. It's hard to sometimes just focus in on one thing, especially if you haven't been able to get out and get your heebie-jeebies out.
That is a great idea.
And do you disclose your disability to every professor for every class?
Not every professor. Most, have access to IEPs when you're accepted. They see your IEP when you're accepted into the class. And they'll pull me aside and say, hey, I saw this. Here's are the accommodations that I offer as a teacher and a professor, so that, for later on in the semester when we have to take exams, quiz, homework. But most of the time I won't say it, simply because unless it's very important to me, I feel like the teacher doesn't really need to know.
Okay, then. And have you ever dropped a class because of that? Because of a non-accommodating professor?
I've never dropped a class, though I did fail a class.
Mm. Do you feel like that...
You got it. I believe in you.
No, I'm just going to not answer. I'm not going to ask that question. That was a stupid question. What helped ensure your success in classes?
Mostly traditional writing, taking notes on every single thing that the professor said, every single homework assignment, writing it down even though it's on canvas and I can see it, physically having it in front of me. And then one of the things that I really like that a bunch of my film professors did last semester is would hand out the homework assignments as a paper, like the qualifications and the requirements for the assignment, then you submit it virtually. And that really helps, so I can see in front of me and then, post it on a corkboard or a calendar for myself.
That's a great idea. And how would you define your success?
I would say pretty solid. Given, I've grown quite a bit with my depression and anxiety. I mean, it was hard at first. I wasn't an inpatient, and that was just hard to do in terms of learning. But I also feel like since then, my learning experiences have been better simply because schools are a lot more accommodating now and a lot more, willing to listen to the student and what the student needs.
I agree with that statement. Is there any specific accommodations that you bring yourself, such as a planner or a fidget toy, and why are they important to you?
I bring, one thing that I bring myself during exams or quizzes is this rock that my first ever therapist gave to me. It says breathe on it, and it's a very smooth rock, and I can run my fingers over the grooves of the word. Or I'll bring a little squishy toy and just mess with it under the table.
I also use a fidget toy, and those are great for helping us focus. What accommodation never mind. Do you think that colleges would benefit from having a sensory room on campus?
I think so, yes. Well, I do not, I'm not in need of a sensory room. I feel like there are students that could definitely benefit from it. And anything that can help a student feel more comfortable in the learning environment and help them feel more successful in school should definitely be provided.
I agree. What are some common misconceptions about college that you have encountered?
That it's harder than it looks. I was told a lot that, college is adult stuff. You gotta, be serious, and teachers aren't gonna play with all that, I missed class because, I was late and I just couldn't show up. They're not gonna play with that, and that is not true at all. I've had multiple teachers just cancel class because they're or be late to class because they're getting Starbucks, so... It is not as hard, and I feel like another misconception is that it's very planned out for you. When you go into college, someone has already paved that path for you. When really, I think college is about your decision, because you're choosing your major, you're choosing which classes to go based off of your major, and that's not something that a lot of teachers told me when I was in middle or high school.
I agree with that, and I feel like another misconception is that it's very much you're not allowed to have a mental health day or ask for any of those mental health days, and that teachers are not going to care if you need a mental health day. And when I was growing up, mental health days were not a thing. And so that the fact that they have them now is mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fantastic that they have those. And what have been some of the best experiences with a professor?
Best experience with a professor was probably with my film professor last semester, Cinema 101, Burnett. I was having kind of a hard time in class. Not only was like my medication I had to balance out a new medication. My great-grandmother on my dad's side had just passed. And the combination of just not doing well mentally, her passing, and then the medication, trying to organize my new medication scenario just wasn't going well. I was able to reach out to him and ask him and be like, hey, I'm not doing great right now. Is it okay if I get an extension on this? I'll get it in. I just need a little bit more time. And he was like, that's perfectly fine. Take the time you need. Just as long as you get it to me before the end of the semester, I will give you full credit or partial credit.
I'm so glad that he was very accommodating. I'm sorry about your great-grandmother. Do you feel like you have a strong sense of community in college?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, I've fallen into the wrong groups and I've fallen into the right groups, but as of late, I feel like I've found a pretty good community to be a part of and help me flourish as a person.
I'm glad that you found that community. And how do you find time for both school and friendships and etc.?
Simply put, during the weekdays, I lock in. It's all homework, school, classes, all that. And then during lunches, I'll spend time with my boyfriend or friends. And weekends are typically time where I'll allow myself either a little bit of me time to go out and take care of myself or go out and allow myself that social time with friends and relationships. But during the week, I really try to limit my socialization with friends if it's not going to be focused around doing homework together or studying for an exam together.
That's a very beneficial way of doing it. And what tips do you have for others who may struggle with making friends in college?
I would say just put yourself out there. Join communities, join groups that you feel like have the same interests as you. A lot of the friends that I made were, I was part of a club with. And, the LGBTQ plus club. And we became friends because we saw each other every single week for an hour. So it's like, why not hang out more than that? And then others I just kind of met through those people, or I met just from people in my class that I was like, hey, do you want to work on this project together? Because I'm not working with anyone. And most people are pretty open to just being like, okay, let's see what you have to offer as a person.
I agree with that. And how can colleges create an inclusive classroom culture beyond providing accommodations?
I feel like definitely covering subjects such as like mental health awareness, something to bring awareness to the struggles that students will go through, not only students that have learning differences, but also just in general. It's, especially after COVID, it's hard coming back to school. And it's hard coming to class every single day and finding motivation to get out of bed. So I feel like talking about that more and stigmatizing the mental health and like what that means to have mental health disabilities, like just opening a conversation on it could definitely be helpful for students just so they have a place to talk about it.
That goes into my next question perfectly, actually. Should colleges provide disability training before each semester?
I believe so, and I think we do. I am a student worker, and we do have trainings, and there are trainings that we do attend in terms of how to provide the help for a student that needs accommodations, whether it be showing them to the right department or helping them find whatever form they need on the LAVC homepage to get those accommodations.
And is that training disability led?
Yes, it is. We have multiple different speakers. The main speaker obviously is our Dean of Student Life, who again is not disabled, but he will bring in he typically brings out outside sources, always from different corporations that specifically work with students with disabilities. Typically, these leaders are either ADHD or they have depression or some form of severe anxiety.
That's very beneficial. And if you were to design the ideal disability training program for professors, what would you include?
I would say at least, again, the open forum on what mental health means, and what the word disability means, learning difficulties, accommodations, and I would say probably having them just be more open with their students. While I've been super lucky to have a lot of professors that are super accommodating and very understanding, I know that there are professors that are not as understanding or accommodating, and it's not really about sensitivity. It's more so just about, like, okay, this is what their brain is constantly going through, and we're not going to not treat them like a child. They're still an adult, but how we can help them grow and flourish in our learning space.
Thank you for answering that question. It was very elegantly put. And do you think such trainings would benefit both students and faculty?
I would say yes. I think they would.
And what's something you wish you knew or had in your first year of college?
I would say something I wish I knew was the different communities that there were to join, clubs, friends, stuff like that. I was during both the summer and the spring semester, beginning of spring semester, I was very lonely. I didn't have many friends until I started joining clubs. And I just wish that I had done that sooner, because I feel like I would have created a lot of deeper bonds with people.
Do you think a buddy program would have helped you feel any less lonely?
Probably. I feel like in some situations, yes, it would have helped. In others, I feel like it would have been just a little bit hindering.
Okay. And what advice do you have for the next generations of students, especially those who struggle to advocate for themselves?
I would say the most important thing is just remember that there are accommodations. And thankfully, you actually, for those that have a really hard time advocating for themselves, whether it be verbally or on the phone, that you can go on the LAVC homepage and there's a live chat feature. So you don't even have to talk to someone in person or face to face and get your accommodations. And that is super helpful.
Thank you for joining me today. And this was Sully. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sully, for sharing your story today. Be sure to follow her on Instagram. I'll link it down below. Like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.